Today we're going to talk about 10 really surprising horror movies that I never saw coming. Welcome to the Cobweb channel, everybody. My name is Daniel, and look, I'm a really big horror fan, but these are 10 movies that took me off guard. Now, they may have surprised me because they were totally better than I was expecting, or perhaps was something totally different than I expected, or was just the kind of thing that I didn't know existed. So this is a really fun, diverse list of really good horror movies. So let's talk about them.
Rumpelstiltskin. You know my name.
Rumpelstiltskin.
This ain't no fairy tale.
Rumpelstiltskin from 1995. In the 1400s, Rumpelstiltskin is imprisoned inside a small jade figurine. In modern-day Los Angeles, the recently widowed wife of a police officer with baby in tow finds her way into a witch's shop and purchases the figurine, resulting in the monster being freed and demanding possession of the baby. So Rumpelstiltskin was directed by Mark Jones, who is also the director of Leprechaun, which is a much more famous and iconic horror movie than Rumpelstiltskin, but this movie really surprised me, one, on actually how good it is, and two, that it is so much better than Leprechaun. In my opinion, I think Rumpelstiltskin is a massive jump, because I'm not really big on the Leprechaun franchise, but I've seen the first one. I don't think it's very good. I didn't think the monster Leprechaun, you know, all respect to Warwick Davis, was very interesting. I thought it was kind of boring. The characters were kind of dull, but I wouldn't say any of those things about Rumpelstiltskin. One cool thing about this movie is it really melds ridiculous, campy horror comedy kind of vibes, along with actually really good, meaningful character drama. I know that sounds really surprising, but back in the 80s and 90s, you could get horror movies that were like goofy and silly and fun, but still took their own stories seriously. You don't get that as much nowadays. Nowadays, it's much more so either very serious or total horror comedy. But Rumpelstiltskin kind of operates in both camps because the drama going on with the main character is that she just lost her husband, she just had a baby, and all that stuff. I don't know. I thought the emotions of all that stuff worked really, really well. But when Rumpelstiltskin is freed, and according to the old fairy tale legend, because this is a fairy tale horror movie, he tries to kidnap babies. So he is after her baby. And you really feel the intensity of the situation of her trying to save her kid. Max Grodenchik plays Rumpelstiltskin. I thought he did a great job. I thought the makeup on him was really fun. This is a horror movie full of makeup, prosthetics, practical effects. And if you're just a big horror nerd, you're really going to enjoy that side of this movie. And I loved the lead character, who's played by Kim Johnston Ulrich. I thought she was really good. And it was fun seeing her in the making of documentary on this new TerrorVision 4K that I just got, which is like an amazing addition for a movie like this. But in the making of doc, you know, so often when you hear actors in old horror movies talking about the movies, they make it clear they don't really like horror movies. But she was saying she really likes horror movies, particularly Hammer movies, so I know I could be friends with her. So everybody on the making of docs, it seemed like they had a really fun time making this movie, and that really comes through. It's certainly not a scary horror movie, but it's not really trying to be. It's going for comedy. It's got some fun laughs. It's also got some really stupid one-liners. It's also going for action sometimes. There are actually some really good action set pieces, car chases, because for some reason this little fairy tale creature Rumpelstiltskin can operate any vehicle he comes across, like a motorcycle or a semi-truck. It's nuts. Obviously, I thought I would get some enjoyment out of this movie because I did blind buy it on 4K, but it still ended up being so much better than I expected, had so much more merit, and I just really enjoyed Rumpelstiltskin.
Total annihilation of all life in the universe.
Glorious from 2022. After a breakup, Wes ends up in a remote rest stop and finds himself locked inside the bathroom with a mysterious figure speaking from an adjacent stall. Soon, Wes realizes he is involved in a situation more horrifying than he could ever imagine. So this movie is on this list because one, it shocked me with how good it turned out to be, and we'll get into that in a sec. But two, it's been on my mind lately. You see, this movie was directed by Rebecca McKendry, who is a co-host on a series of horror podcasts that I have been listening to for many, many years. Originally Killer POV, and then Shockwaves, and currently Colors of the Dark. And among some other people who are consistent co-hosts on all of those was Elric Kane, who just put out his first feature film debut called The Dead Thing. I just watched it on Shudder, and I really didn't like it. Like, I really Really did not like it. But it also made me think about how I really do like Rebecca McKendry's movie from a few years ago, which is glorious, shockingly good for the kind of premise that it is, because this is a movie about a guy stuck in a dirty old bathroom at a rest stop talking to some kind of figure inside a glory hole in the adjacent stall. He can't see the figure in there. The figure is actually played by J.K. Simmons, voiced by J.K. Simmons. But it turns out this is a Lovecraftian cosmic horror movie. And when you listen to her on podcasts, you find Rebecca McKendry is like obsessed with Lovecraft and cosmic horror and such like that. And this really is a movie by a giant nerd for those kinds of ideas. So it's very dialogue based. It's characters discussing these cosmic ideas in really crazy out there ways, sometimes comedy ways. It's definitely a bit of a comedy. I mean, the premise is so insane. You almost got to laugh at it a little bit, but I just really enjoy it. I think the dialogue is interesting. It's a better looking movie than you would expect for its primary location. It's going for that pink and purple lighting that Lovecraft stuff often does. It's got some crazy gore and practical effects, and at only about 78 minutes long, it never overstays its welcome. I really dig this movie. The Beast with Five Fingers from 1946. Locals in an Italian village believe evil has taken over the estate of a recently deceased pianist where murder has taken place. The alleged killer is the dead pianist's severed hand. So I'm really glad I was able to find a way to include a horror movie from the 40s on here. As a commenter recently noted on one of my videos, it's not a cobwebs list if there isn't some black and white movie on there. And yes, that is the truth. I really tried to. But this is one that I discovered recently, and why it really surprised me is just that I had never heard about it before. Now, I'm not saying that I am a total expert on old classic horror, black and white horror and such, but I really love that stuff, and I've spent a long time digging into that, finding hidden gems and such like that. And this is a movie that I just never came across until Warner Archive put it out on Blu-ray recently. And I was like, what is this movie? It's got Peter Lorre. Could it be any good if I'd never heard about it? And after watching it, yeah, it's really good. It is one of those classic, cozy, old dark house ghostly murder mystery movies. I love movies like that. And you've got these characters that are all in this giant mansion after the death of this rich man. They're trying to find out who's going to get the inheritance, all that kind of thing. But then there is a ghost who is killing people one by one, the ghost of a severed hand. It is so much more macabre and, dare I say, gory than I might expect it to. You actually do watch this hand walk around and kill people. And it's really, really fun. Like, it's just a really good time. It's got those old classic spooky vibes to it. You got the iconic figure of classic horror, Peter Lorre, in here in a supporting role. A lot of just charming characters in this movie with a great setting, spooky happenings. It surprised me that I didn't know about this one before, but I'm so glad I know about it now.
Traveling is all about experiencing new things.
Influencer from 2022. While struggling on a solo backpacking trip in Thailand, social media influencer Madison meets CW, who travels with ease and shows her a more uninhibited way of living. But CW's interest in her takes a darker turn. So when this thing came out in 2022, I watched it when it hit Shudder, and I actually don't remember why I decided to check it out, because it so doesn't sound like my thing, a horror movie about a social media influencer. I have a bit of an allergy to watching movies where you watch people scroll on their phones. I think it's very uncinematic. It's not very fun to watch. But I watched it, and it surprised me that this movie was good at all. But it surprised me more that I thought it was great, and I thought it was one of the best horror movies of the year. It's a very interesting movie with a lot of things to say about the social media influencer world and the parasocial relationships that are created throughout it. This weird world that we live in today. Influencers got a lot of cool things to say about it, but what I really enjoyed about this is something happens at the end of Act 1, I would say, right around there in the film, and I was just like, what is this movie now? Like, where can this possibly go? Like, you felt like we were going on some kind of typical story structure, and then boom, they just ripped the rug out from under us. And I was like, what is left here? And then when the movie kept going, it turned out to be something so different and so interesting. And it was a wildly unpredictable film. Definitely, a horror movie, at least somewhat, but definitely also a thriller, and a very intense thriller at that. Got a lot of great intensity, really interesting characters, fantastic performances. I thought Influencer was great. And if it sounds like it's probably not your thing, I might challenge you to check it out anyway, because I thought the same thing.
Allow me to introduce Mr. Hilscher. And this is our son, Brahms.
The Boy from 2016. A young American woman takes a job as a nanny in a remote English village, soon discovering that the family's 8-year-old son is a life-size doll that comes with a list of strict rules. So there are multiple levels of how The Boy surprised me. Number one, it surprised me that I liked it at all. I remember I went to see it in theaters in 2016. It was a January horror movie. There's a huge stigma around January films, particularly horror movies, that's just where they dump the worst of the worst movies. I think it's not totally warranted, but I definitely bought into that kind of rhetoric back in 2016. I don't remember why I went to see it, and it surprised me that I liked it, that I thought it was actually pretty good. And then it further surprised me how much this movie has grown on me over the years, and I have now seen it many times. It has turned out to be such a comfort movie for me. I absolutely love the atmosphere and the vibe of this film. It's very gothic. It takes place in present day, but it takes place in a very gothic mansion in the English countryside. So it's very much got that old dark house kind of atmosphere. Love that. I love Lauren Cohen in the lead. I mean, one, I think she's like super, super cute, but then also I thought her performance was great, incredibly likable. I'm so invested in her. There's also some very interesting things going on in her personal life that come to a head in the movie that just adds extra tension and drama to it. But then what also surprises me is the third act twist in this movie, because there is a twist, and it's awesome. This movie is not the typical spooky doll movie that you might go in expecting. It is not Annabelle. It's got much more up its sleeves. Some people think that just saying there is a twist is like in itself a spoiler. Maybe sometimes, but I think I gotta tell you with The Boy, because you might just think, oh, I don't like the Annabelle movie, so I wouldn't like that. Get that out of your head. This is something different. So The Boy has turned out to be such a favorite for me of modern horror. I like it so much. And it's directed by William Brent Bell, who I actually really like as a director, because he also made Orphan First Kill and Lord of Misrule. So he's pretty darn good. And The Boy is, I think it's kind of great.
Who are you?
Phantoms from 1998. In the peaceful Colorado town of Snowfield, something evil has wiped out the community. And now it's up to a group of people to stop it, or at least get out of Snowfield alive. So this is actually the movie that inspired me to make this list. Now, I picked this up on this Scream Factory 4K because I was curious about it. I always kind of wanted to see it. But based on the poster, I always expected this was another Scream ripoff. It's from that time period, the late 90s. I expected this was another urban legend, or I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's got its hot generic cast all displayed there. It's got Ben Affleck. Honestly, the presence of Ben Affleck alone made me think this was maybe only kind of a horror movie. And honestly, just look how terrible this poster is. I mean, look at Peter O'Toole there. What is going on with him? It looks like ChatGPT made that. Oh my God, this is not that at all. Like, it is something so crazy, wildly different than any of those other movies that I mentioned. This is a cosmic horror film. It is a full-on Lovecraftian, cosmic, ancient god science fiction horror film. And it's actually based on a book by Dean Koontz, which is interesting because Dean Koontz hasn't had that many film adaptations, certainly not like Stephen King has. So that alone makes this kind of an interesting anomaly. And I just thought it was something way cooler and way more interesting than I ever expected. Now, the cast on the whole, they're not amazing. They're all perfectly fine. Ben Affleck in this movie is fine.
But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
I think the standouts are Liev Schreiber as kind of a creepy, weird guy, and Peter O'Toole as the scientist who has to come in and figure out what's going on. Lawrence of Arabia is a little bit above the caliber of Phantoms, but it's cool that he's here. The atmosphere of this creepy, cold Colorado town that's been abandoned is really, really cool. And just the idea ideas behind it. Like, I just love that Lovecraft-like ancient god kind of horror. And I can't believe Phantoms is like one of the most satisfying examples of it we have on film. But it kind of is. It's got some dated CGI, but judging by how big the ideas they're going for are here, I totally understand it. And that's the time period. I get it. It's fun. It's gory at times. It's action-packed. It's got some laugh lines that actually kind of work. I'm shocked by what it is, by how good it is. And I'm just so happy it's now in my life. So Phantoms, you rule.
Okay.
Snatchers from 2019. After status-obsessed Sarah has sex for the first time, she wakes up the next day 9 months pregnant with an alien. So I watched this movie because one person recommended it to me, and to date, he is still the only person I've ever heard mention this movie. And I thought it sounded fun enough, so I checked it out. And it surprised me so much that it is as good as it is. And it surprises me constantly even more that I never, ever, ever hear anyone else talk about this movie. And when I look it up on Letterboxd, hardly anyone I follow has watched it. It's one of these indie horror movies that's made like absolutely no impact, even more than a lot of other indie horror movies, which I think is such a bummer because it is shockingly good. I mean, I think like the actual technical quality of it is rock solid. It looks great. It's actually directed very stylistically in a very cool way. I think all the actors are really, really fun. They're all giving it their all. I really care about them, not just the teenagers, but even the parents and the adult characters. Just really, really fun people populating this thing. As a horror comedy, it is so funny. Like, I think it is absolutely hilarious. It is one of the funniest horror comedies that's come out in a long time. And as a horror movie, it's awesome. It's a full-on alien invasion horror movie by this girl getting impregnated by aliens, and she keeps giving birth to these alien monsters, and it's full-on practical effects. You get really, really cool practical creatures in this that are so much fun. I really like the design of them. So it's just such a rock-solid creature feature. It is so fun, and I'm so happy to be on this channel talking about this movie because I really hope I can convince more people to check it out, especially if you're in the mood for just a funny horror comedy. Every year for my birthday, I always do a movie night. I have some friends over. I show 2 or 3 movies. And a few years ago, I showed Snatchers and it absolutely killed. Everybody was laughing. Everybody had a great time, was super positive on it. So I can kind of speak from experience that I think you will enjoy this. I really hope its reputation grows because I think it 100% deserves it. Black Pit of Dr. M from 1959. 2 doctors make a pact in which they swear that the first to die will return from the grave, if possible, to tell the other how to get a glimpse of the afterlife while still alive. So this is a classic gothic Mexican horror film that I actually saw for the first time because I got this box set of old Mexican gothic horror films that a company called Indicator put out. And what surprised me about this is 1, that it's really, really good, but 2, that just the general quality of old gothic Mexican horror films from like the 50s and 60s is incredible. And like, I just never really heard about that. Usually when you talk about old gothic horror films, you're talking about English films and Italian films. You talk about Hammer or Mario Bava. And I just never really hear the Mexican ones talked about. And I discovered through this movie and all of the films in this box set that holy cow, there are a lot of really good old Mexican horror films. Even when you compare them to the Italian films, I think they have more story and more character development, and they're just more interesting consistently. Because like a lot of the Italian films, I love a lot of them, but they tend to be really slow and light on plot, and they kind of rely on atmosphere a lot. And in my general experience with the Mexican films, that hasn't really been the case. It's definitely not the case with this one. This is still the best Mexican horror film that I have seen. It is such an interesting plot about this guy who is trying to beat death to get a glimpse of what is beyond. He's being visited by this ghost of his friend, giving him the secrets. Of course, things go horribly wrong. It is so macabre, death obsessed. It's got a disfigured monster in there at some point. And all of the actors are great. The characters are interesting. The atmosphere is like out of this world. It looks so good. So Black Pit of Dr. M was a shock for me. But if you haven't seen old Mexican horror films, I mean, they're really, really good. I recommend them.
You're not gonna hurt me. I'm part of you.
Monkey shines on you into terror.
Monkey Shines from 1988. A quadriplegic man is given a trained monkey to help him with everyday activities until the little monkey begins to develop feelings and rage against its new master and those who get too close to him. So I love George Romero. I'm just such a big fan of him, and it kind of makes me sad that almost anytime you hear people talk about George Romero, they will only talk about his zombie movies. And I love his zombie movies, but man, I think he's got so many really, really good horror movies outside of zombies, and Monkey Shines is one of the movies that really showed that to me when I first watched it a few years ago. So one, it surprised me how good it is, because I thought, it's George Romero, it'll probably be pretty good, but it's actually great. And then two, it surprised me on what the heck the movie is about, because when you look at the poster, it looks like it's about an evil toy monkey. In fact, that incredibly misleading poster is the reason that a lot of people associate this movie with Stephen King's story, The Monkey, that just got turned into a movie, when it has nothing to do with that. I even just did a video on Stephen King horror movies, and I talked about the new movie, The Monkey, and I had a lot of people in the comments like, yeah, but what about Monkey Shines? What about the original? Monkey Shines is better. And I'm like, guys, no. Monkey Shines is not Stephen King. It is based on a book, but it's not based on a Stephen King book. It has nothing to do with the monkey, and it has nothing to do with a toy monkey. I don't know why that's on the poster. It's about a real monkey named Ella. She is wonderful. She is so lovable. She's such a cute little monkey. You will fall in love with her while you watch this film, to a point, because there is a point when she becomes the full-on Michael Myers slashing killer, source of the horror in this film, and that ends up being really, really fun as well. I was surprised by how intense this movie got. I mean, the whole third act is like a quadriplegic man versus a killer monkey, and it is like Hitchcockian. It's probably the most Hitchcockian that George Romero ever got, and it's really, really cool. But also, I just cared so much about the characters in this film. This guy who went through an accident that is the reason that he's now quadriplegic. I mean, he's obviously going through such an incredibly difficult part of his life, and that just makes him incredibly sympathetic, but I liked him so much. He develops a romance with this woman who's helping him with the monkey, and I cared about them so much. It's got a really great supporting cast, including even Stanley Tucci in an early role. So it is just such a well-made film with solid drama and tension, and a cute little monkey that ends up wanting to kill you.
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Brotherhood of the Wolf from 2001. In 18th century France, a knight and his Native American friend are sent by the king to a remote province to investigate the killings of hundreds by a mysterious beast. So I had never heard of this movie until a few years ago when a friend of mine was telling me about it, like completely out of nowhere. I was like, what is this? And he was just like, you've got to watch this movie. Like, he really convinced me. I was like, okay. So I sat down and watched Brotherhood of the Wolf, and I wasn't necessarily surprised by how good it was, because he really told me it was going to be great. But I was shocked that something like it existed, because I had no idea. This is a true one-of-a-kind movie. There is nothing else like Brotherhood of the Wolf, because what it is a horror movie. It is a creature feature. It is a period piece in old France where these guys come into this village to track down a beast that no hunter has been able to kill. A beast, by the way, that is not a werewolf. A lot of people tell me this is a werewolf movie. Whenever I do videos talking about werewolf movies, people say, what about Brotherhood of the Wolf? It's not a werewolf. The movie at no point tells you that this is a werewolf, but it is a monster. But it is also an action film with martial arts. It's a drama. It's a political thriller. It's a romance. It has got an insane amount of genres crammed into its 2.5 hour runtime. And it's unbelievable how well it works. I mean, I was enthralled by this the first time I saw it. I loved everything about it. It looks incredible. I mean, the period recreation is gorgeous. I mean, this is almost like Braveheart level of period piece production design to make an epic. It's just amazing that this much went into this movie, all while still being a horror film, a martial arts action film. It doesn't make sense why there's so much martial arts. It's just cool. It's insanely cool. The action scenes are awesome. His Native American friend is played by Mark Dacascos, who's kind of a big direct-to-video action star. He did a lot of cool movies. He was recently the villain in John Wick 3, so you know him there. But he is a legit incredible martial artist, and he is awesome in this movie. It's just the kind of movie I had no idea anyone had ever dared to make. I was just out of the loop on it. And I just rewatched it on the Scream Factory 4K. And one thing that I will say is I didn't think it was quite as perfect as the first time. I noticed the length more. It is kind of ridiculous that it's 2.5 hours long. Even though it's got so much going on, I do think it could have been shorter. But I will say on a first watch, that didn't bother me in the slightest. So I think if you're going into this for your first time, you may not even notice that. It does have dated CGI when it comes to the monster, but much like with Phantoms, I accept that's just the period. That's how things were. They're not using CGI in the action scenes. I mean, that is stunt work. It is skill, and it's amazing. I love Brotherhood of the Wolf. It is one of a kind. I'm shocked that something like it was ever made, but I am so glad it was. Before I go, I just want to send out a huge thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. You really keep this channel going. With a special shout out to Vinny Karpuska, the Rob Goblin, and Jeff Bachman. You guys are the absolute best. So that's my list, but what are some horror movies that really surprised you? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's talk about some more films. And if you enjoyed this, you can check out this video right over here for that Stephen King video I talked about. If you did enjoy this video, hit the like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. Don't forget to enjoy yourself today. Have some fun, and I'll see you next time.